Welcome to Frax Check, your weekly Frax vibe check. I am your host, Capital K, and I'm joined by my co-host, DeFi Dave, and our producer extraordinaire, Sam. We'll be going straight to the source of truth via checking the chain. But before we jump in, please subscribe to the Flywheel Pod and follow us at Flywheel Pod on Twitter and Telegram. This week, I call this week a little bit of this, a little bit of that week.
What do we got a little bit of? Wait, what do we got a little bit of?
We got some ups, we got some downs, and we got some unchanged. Okay, so we got a little bit of everything this week for everybody. But as always, let's begin with our regular programming, the peg. We saw it got as low as 0.998 with a high of 1.001 for the week. Peg strong. We then look at the curve swap via, we have to check the markets. So we went to curve and we swapped 100 million frags for USDC. And we received an exchange rate of 0.9983, which is an increase of 2 bips compared to last week's. So both metrics pretty much unchanged. Now we move on to our collateralization percent. And this percent conveys how much FXS, or the algorithmic part, is used as collateral. So we see here that we've been unchanged at 93.3% for the last 5 Frax checks. That's 5 weeks of us just hovering around this number. Actually not hovering, like we are at this number for the last 5 weeks. And then on the, conversely, we look at the decentralization percent, which represent what percent of the collateral are actually decentralized. And we bounced up the low of the 12% in the last, I believe 6 Frax checks ago. We're now hovering between the range of 14 to 15. And this week, we dropped down to the low band of the range at 14%. So 1.8% down move for the week. Both of these metrics are in the very, 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 very much bear market vibes. Okay, we want to see the collateralization percent down to the low 80s, and we want to see the decent percent in the mid 30s. Okay, so we're very, very far from where we want to be with both of these metrics. So let's do a quick summary check. So the health, we have a strong peg, a great curve swap, but collateralization and decentralization needs a lot of work. So we still got a lot of work ahead of us. No celebration just yet. But like in life, you gotta celebrate the little wins when we get them. And the little wins in this case is Frax ETH. So let me talk about that for you guys.
We just keep winning.
As always, we check the bet. It just keeps winning. A little bit of that, a little bit of this, right? A little bit of L's, a little bit of W's. And here's our W segment. We check the peg. And the peg check here is strong, as you can see. It's at 0.9986 per Frax ETH to ETH. Very tight. We then went to the market, as always, to see what would happen if we swapped a fuck ton of Frax ETH.
Hey, guys, wait, whoa.
PG.
Can we say a heck ton?
A heck ton.
Okay.
It's okay.
Roll it back.
We're not rolling back.
We have children watching.
We have children watching. We're live. We're live, guys. There is no rolling back.
Okay. So, of course, always, we have to jump into the market and check with the curve swap. And as always, I used the largest holder of Frax ETH, which is a whole lot of Frax ETH. And that number is 3.5K Frax ETH. And you see here, when this big whale comes and swap out the pool, the damage is only 0.9965, which is frankly not too shabby for the largest holder of Frax ETH to come in and do some real damage. And I want to highlight here is that we previously, last week, we were at 61% of the supply of Frax ETH in Curve. This week, we're at 63.5%. So I think we found this equilibrium between 60-40 split between Curve and Frax ETH for those who've been paying attention. And the APY, interestingly enough, for Convex is only at 9% projected, versus the 10.8%, which is for SFrax ETH. So I'm surprised to see more people in this pool versus the latter.
Apparently somebody pulled out 2,000 ETH out of the stake Frax ETH pool yesterday. So it bumped everybody up. I don't know, but I saw that in the trading chat. Somebody was like, thank you, whomever did that. But I think we'll reach parity soon. I mean, like, honestly, like the swapping costs are like pretty small. So I think we'll just eventually get parity. So if we get 10% for Curve and 10% in the stake Frax pool, that's great. Sign me up.
Yeah. Everybody gets what they want, right? Like if you want to get some leverage long, or not leverage long, you get some DeFi exposure from your CRV, Frax, and CVX rewards. You can come onto the Curve pool, but you just want to stack your ETH, and there's a product for everybody. That's kind of what I like about it. But either way, let's move on to this graph that shows the count of Frax ETH, and we're at 44,800. Remember, we bet that by the end of the year, these numbers, well, for me, it was 69,420 for the memes. And it's a little tight. It's a little tight. I got 11 days to make that happen. So everybody out there who has WETH, if you're a WETH holder, this is the Capital One commercial here. Like, what's in your wallet? It better not be WETH. You better be holding some Frax ETH, guy. All right.
Earn some yield.
Earn some yield.
Put that ETH
Put
to
it
work.
All right. Now we looked at the stake percent, and I'm really always surprised of like how efficient the people who are so deep in DeFi is. Like literally, there is not a single lazy Frax ETH out there. Every single Frax ETH is put to work. Like there's literally no free lunch for nobody. Everyone is either in the Curve pool or in SFrax ETH. Very tight, very very tight. That's how we like to keep things here. And then let's do a very quick summary check. We have the peg, which pretty much unchanged, strong. And then we have the Curve swap, again, taking the largest holder of Frax ETH, coming in here and whacking the pool. You still get 0.9965. Count, 44,800 up only. And staked is at the nice 36.2%. So we're very healthy around these marks, and I like it. Let's jump into our AMO holdings. This week was kind of interesting because we had a little game of like musical chairs. We have about like 4 million go missing from the not missing, but it was a decrease of 4 million from the liquidity pool as well as the investor AMO, the liquidity AMO and the investor AMO. But those 4 million found its way into the Curve AMO. So we're pretty much unchanged for the week, but it's just some nice musical chairs we see going on with the AMOs across the board here. And again, we've been ranging at this 550 million mark for, man, I don't even know how many Frax checks, but no movements on the AMO side, which I guess is quite healthy given how the market's been kind of just choppy around anyways. So we're tracking along here. Now, we got onto the profitability of the Convex AMO. Now, so far for the month of December, we've made $960,000 in revenue, and we paid roughly $750K in bribes plus $430 in OpEx. So for the month of December, we're at the loss of $220K, but it's still early. We have another 11 days to go. So let's keep our hopes up and upward and onward, champs.
Let's get into the new year with some profitability.
Yeah. Ooh, profitability. I just want to see a zero, bro. I just want to see a neutral number here. I dare not dream so wild. Okay, guys, you know what's next. It is a quick summary check of the money check. So we have 547 million in the AMO, hovering around that 550 million mark for the last like 6 Frax checks. And profitability, we're down slightly for the month, but like I said, we've still got 11 days and things can change. Now, guys, here's my favorite section. It's the liquidity check. It's a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And we are unchanged at 78%. Like I said, a little.
This is the most neutral Frax check I've ever seen in my life.
That's like, as I was putting this together, I was like, we literally could have replayed last week's and it would still be the same.
It's like Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
I guess the chain took a took off for the holidays or something.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we're in a holiday. I was gonna call this week same but different. But really, it's just same. But
It's
yeah,
the
we're
same,
at
yeah.
78%. We're barely hanging on here. I thought we were gonna have this nice upward trend, like straight up to at least an 8 number in front of that. But we kept the same date. That's fine. I'm not gonna complain. We got as low as like 60. So I'm happy where we are. Let's count our blessings. Now, I do want to highlight here something that's very interesting is that we are neck to neck with the Frax 3 CRV pool, as you see here.
Oh,
the
wow.
base pool and like we are like, ooh. That's so now I'm moving the goalpost a little bit, and let's first try to beat the Frax 3 CRV pool before we beat the 3 pool. So we're so close to flipping this one. Let's celebrate the win when we get it. And we're at, but just although we're playing around with all this, but Frax base pool is still 476 million in TVL. That is a lot of liquidity.
It's a lot.
Very liquid.
Like that's a lot. That is a whole lot of liquidity. So keep
Water's
that in mind.
life.
We're still
Water's
good.
life.
We are still good here. Now let's flip this and move to the meta pools. And as a reminder, the meta pools are paired with the base pool. As examples are like LUSD, Frax BP, BUSD, Frax BP, and guys, we are breaking above. We have a slight little bit up at 49.6 mil.
It's just a little bit. Just a little bit.
But we're teetering at that 50 mil line. Like we spent the last 4 weeks underneath that 50 mil line. So this is us kind of bouncing back. So I'm quite happy to see this. And people are adding liquidity to the meta pool pairs. So I like it. It's 12.2% so far from last week. And then, but just to, make us appreciate our blessing, we were at 38 mil just 3 Frax checks ago. Mm-hmm. So this is like, we're very fortunate to have 10 mil come back to us. So let's celebrate the wins when we get them. And as always, if there's any project out there looking for some assistance with the meta pool, please join the Flywheel Pod Telegram chat and DM any of the hosts for assistance. Also, one quick note, the base pool could be paired with non-stable assets. And we have a couple examples of those, such as CVX FXS and Frax base pool, Badger Frax base pool, Reserve Frax base pool. So if you're a non-stable not non-stable project, but if you're a project that has a token that is a non-stable token, you can also pair with the Frax base pool. So please reach out. Don't hesitate. And this week, we're down slightly. We're down like 1 million in non-stable pairs. But overall, all the meta pools, we have a 7% increase at $61 million for so far in the month of December. So quite strong in my opinion. And let's do a quick summary time. We have the Frax base pool at $476.8 million. That's a lot of liquidity. And we're 78% of the 3 pool. So remember, we flipped it once. We were above the line once. So it doesn't mean, things always retrace, or so I was told. And then we have the meta pools at 49.6 million for stables, and then 61 million for all meta pools. And lastly, the main reason why we track all of these metrics is so that we can make sure the Frax supply can grow as big as possible. And this week, as you guys can guess it, we are unchanged at 1.023 billion for the week. We are unchanged here.
That's the least surprising thing.
So, this, like I said, this Frax Check is a little bit of this, a little bit of that, so we're okay. We got some ups, we got some downs, and we're pretty much unchanged. And everyone's just off for the holidays, including the Ethereum blockchain, I suppose. Even degens need a break, I think.
It's Groundhog Day. Groundhog
we're
Week.
Getting close. Yeah, we're getting close
Groundhog
to
check.
we're getting close to 9 digits, and I don't quite like that for the Frax supply. I think that's not quite good. But regardless, we need to keep our eyes on the prize, and we're going to keep on growing this number. So without further ado, let's hop over to the governance roundup.
Thank you for that, Kiet. And this week on the governance roundup, it's pretty standard. You got your Frax ferries, you got a gauge proposal, and you got something new with BTC. Let's run it down. Frax Ferry FIP 146 is to deploy Frax Ferry to Moon River. It's up on Snapshot. 55,000 votes for, 0 against. There's 4 more days left of voting. FIP 147, this is to move to deploy Frax Ferry to Boba. It's up on Snapshot. 3.2K for, 1.7K against. There's 4 days left of voting. And a new one in the forum, FIP 149, is a Frax Ferry to Moon River. There's a little discussion in the forum for that. Going to be on Snapshot soon enough. For the gauge controller, it's to FIP 148 to add ohm Frax BP gauge to the gauge controller. It's up on Snapshot. 88,000 votes for, 0 against. 4 days left of voting. And last but definitely not least, a proposal from our very own Sam McCullough it's a request for quote, create a Frax BTC stablecoin that utilizes Frax Ferry. And the proposal says to open a request for quote period for all parties to propose creation of Frax BTC on Ethereum and its deployment on Frax Ferry between the Bitcoin and Ethereum blockchains to facilitate mints and redemptions. Sam, can you give us more context to your proposal?
So I cheekily asked Sam in the main chat, when Frax BTC, right? So people were talking about how, what is it?
Ren.
Ren. Oh yeah, Ren's shutting down. So I just was like, Sam, when Frax BTC? And Sam came back in 2 seconds and was like, well, we could do it, but we'd have to set up our own SPV, and we don't know if there's demand for it, but we could do it. And so immediately after that, I made a proposal to see if there's any support within the Frax DAO to actually do it. The core team probably has a better understanding of what's there from a revenue perspective. It probably won't add much because, like we all know, BTC is just a rock, and the minting,
it's a shiny rock.
Shiny rock, yeah. So maybe Frax can get minting, redeeming of some BTC, but really the use of it would be to get it added as liquidity inside of Curve and on other networks as well too, and try to take the number one spot for a decentralized Bitcoin wrapped asset, which would be cool. I mean, you think about replacing regular Tri Crypto with Frax Base Pool, Frax BTC, and Frax ETH. That'd be pretty sick. So I think there is some demand for it. We'll see how the vote goes. The RFQ. So initially it was just a temperature check, just to see if the team could come up with something. But I think the discussion inside the chat has been well, maybe Badger can do it, maybe Multichain can do it. So we're gonna reach out to these other parties, see what they have to say, and if they actually want to propose something. And we'll gather everything together, and on January 14th, we'll put it all to a vote to see what the community wants, what the DAO wants.
Yeah, I mean, WBTC is still fine, right?
Yeah.
WBTC is still the top dog.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is just to replace the decentralized option.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's important. I mean, that all that the good thing about Frax, right? So I think at the end of the day, it's going to be Frax doing it. I don't think Badger or Multichain, unless they have some incentives for the Frax DAO. It just makes sense because let's assume that there's a hack and somebody wants to try to take out those funds through the Frax ferry or the bridge or whatever. For one thing, they'll have to get through the ferry. And then secondly, the Frax DAO can always vote not to redeem them and to retain that BTC as well too. So owning the BTC in the reserves, I think would be a very powerful thing for the DAO if we do create it.
Yeah, this would be the only other stable coin that makes sense to create, because BTC is still number one. BTC is still the top dog. I know I can be in an Ethereum bubble sometimes, or multi-chain bubble sometimes, but like you said to me the other week, Sam, BTC has the most search for inquiries, the most content. When people outside of crypto think of crypto, they just think BTC is the big dog. So I think there is a lot of value in having BTC. It's just hard to find yield opportunities. The only thing is though, like Frax, if there is like a protocol or DAO to do this, it's Frax because of all the convex and like how intertwined they are into the Curve ecosystem. It's just, but what's the demand of holding BTC on ETH? And like, has it like tapered since like the past few months, where people like kind of like questioning is, what if I just hold BTC, just like native BTC? Like, why do I want to like have it on ETH? Why do I want to risk it?
Well, typically it comes from like like I think a lot of people, like if you're bullish on crypto and still want to earn a bit of extra yield, people have tended to go to like the ETH BTC pair and just like add LP there. And that way you can be long both assets. And, they trade not so, there's not going to be a huge change in like the relative market caps of the two, right? So there is yield to be made there. So I think people like to deposit there. Yeah.
I said
the main thing that we were talking about in chat was like, if you're going to add BTC to Fraxland, shouldn't it be BTC that is controlled by the Frax DAO in the reserve, like in whatever Bitcoin node that they own, right? So like, assuming we get to large amounts of BTC in Fraxland, like Frax should really control it all.
Yeah, that is a good argument for it.
Yeah. I mean, Frax could even take like the strong stance of later on, like if there's of only allowing Frax denominated products. Like why should Frax allow WBTC? So let's say Frax made Frax BTC, right? Like why should Frax allow for WBTC when there's Frax BTC? So like one thing they could do is take the Binance route and just say like, we're going to swap all your wrap BTC for Frax BTC and then use that in Fraxland instead of supporting WBTC.
Convert all your WETH into Fraxy.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, that's a little bit different, right? But like, we're going to convert all your Steth into Frax ETH, right? So
I think that's a little bit too. That might be a little too extreme, but
I would put on the Frax
Binance did it with
and
I mean
that's Binance.
That's Binance. Once it gets to enough market share, maybe, but like we're still positive. Some guys, we're still trying to grow. I'm not trying to. I mean, in WBTC, is still number one BTC. WETH is still the standard. Steth is still doing numbers. But we'll get there.
Well, here's a question: should Steth be added to Fraxland?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, actually, what about adding that balancer pool instead? The balancer pool.
Maybe. I think the issue with like the LP pools is always the Oracle data, because if you're going to take the price of the pool and it's a small pool like that, which is like $2 million, like maybe the price is going to be pushed in one way or another, right? I think that's where the issues are.
Yeah. Actually, I don't see a point in adding Steth right now. I mean,
exactly.
Steth isn't. Yeah.
We don't want Steth. We want more people to own Fraxy and use stake Fraxy.
Yeah. I think the conversation should be less about Steth and like how can we get Fraxy on other lending protocols like Euler, like Aave. Yeah. Euler is interested. Speaking of which, I gotta follow up with them about that because they were talking about that before and they were tweeting about that. And also I was going to say, BTC goes into Frax BTC, but what about native Frax on BTC? What about the other way around?
Oh, yeah. Oh, and Lightning Network. Yeah, actually, this is one of the older proposals that I had was like, once Taro comes out, that Frax should try to seed it with a ton of liquidity.
I think there's a real opportunity there because Bitcoin, most Lindy, DeFi and Bitcoin could be a dark horse next cycle. I was actually just talking about that on a phone call this morning, and me and my other friend were talking about that in the spring. It could be one of those things that's so obvious, but like all those like Bitcoin maximalists that have been watching from the sidelines, like everyone degenning and aping in. This will be their chance They're just gonna run it back next cycle. They're just gonna do all the yield farms and ohm forks, but on BTC. They're just gonna run it back.
The bit ohms.
Bit ohms. Yeah, but
I think I disagree. I don't think there will ever be a really strong DeFi system on Bitcoin, namely because like the whole point of Bitcoin is like not your keys, not your crypto, like put it in a cold storage wallet, lock it away, never touched again. That's kind of like the maxi argument, right? And when you try to, and like when you go full ETH, right, and you're like DeFi, I got to all these tokens and stuff. Like now you're shitcoin. Business. But if you try to go halfway in between, like something like Stacks has done, you're really in this weird valley where nobody likes you because, maybe there's a token that runs the network so that it can maintain network security and governance. But your security is derived from Bitcoin. But because you have a token and you're doing DeFi, like it's looked down upon. The weird place that the Stacks community is in, having seen it, is the maxis don't like you. People on the east side don't like you because the network isn't as good and it's not east. So it's a weird proposition to be in. If somebody can figure it out, maybe it'll work. But I just think it's like such a religious thing when you start to move towards Bitcoin that like DeFi is haram.
Yeah, dogmatic.
Very haram.
Well, it's bear market. I wore my ramen shirt.
Ramen
Very
profitability.
fitting. Ramen profitability, because we were a little bit up, a little bit down, a little bit of the same. And if you have
salty,
and if you have a little bit of something to say, I really want people to be in the comments more. Let us know like your thoughts. Like let us know how we've been doing on Frax Check this year. Let us know what your favorite parts about Frax Check are. What stats you value? What stats you're like, I don't really care about that. We want to know. We want to get feedback. We want to make Frax Check better. So please. Let us know your thoughts in the comments.
Well, actually,
Please.
guys, if they actually want to tell you, they can show up in LA today.
Oh yeah,
On the 20th.
We are having
2-year
the
anniversary.
2-year anniversary Frax meetup at the Chestnut Club in Santa Monica. It's on 14th Street or something. I'll be there. The Frax team will be there. They're coming out of their caves, and they're showing up. So come on down. Come check the party full. It's on our Twitter. Sign up. And if you want to keep up with everything Frax and everything Flywheel, hit that bell button. Subscribe. Follow us on Twitter @FlywheelPod. Join the discussion on Telegram @FlywheelPod. If you want to keep up with yours truly, it's DeFi Dave on Twitter @DeFi Dave22.
you can follow me at 0x_K.
And I'm at traders_insight.
And we will see you next week.
Peace.